screen. Cool. I think we're good to go. This time I'm going to do full screen. Had a few people ask me if I can do full screen more often, so it's easier on the recordings. And let's get going. Let's see where this is. You guys can see the slides, right?
Yeah, mate.
Do you see the slides?
Yeah, all good.
Yes, all good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for the feedback. So, the reason why I want to share this idea of having your sales development launched first, quite often, I just spoke at an amazing mastermind, and Christine Seal hosted it. We had a fantastic time, and one of the big takeaways for me when I was interacting with a lot of the SaaSpreneurs that were there, small business owners, and also agencies, quite often people don't know what to do about SaaS. It's like you have this idea, you have this business model, you're hearing everybody else talk about it, but somehow we just get stuck on the initial steps of like, what do we do about it, right? So I thought, let me go back a little bit more simpler and help kind of craft the idea of how to launch properly. And this whole month in February, guys, the theme is actually sales process. And what I want to do is just go over that. Just a quick background about myself. I'm a previous agency owner. I've essentially had two of my own agencies, and obviously the high-level agency that I helped build with Robin. And these are all part of my resume, and everything that I'm sharing is from my own experience quite often, and also the observation that we come across when it comes to other agencies that are building within high level as well. So a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you are from real scenarios and practical applications, and it's a great way for you to avoid a lot of mistakes. So today's discussion is going to be around the topic that I decided to talk about is the importance of launching sales development before product creation, right? Now, the most common mistakes that I see from SaaS launches that I've observed, and also personally I've had a lot of feedback from people that have already launched that tell me, man, I wish I did this before that. Number one is, the product shouldn't be created without you talking to the market, right? And typically what happens with a lot of this SaaS development is that you guys as agency owners, you guys are as tech providers, quite often we get so infused in high level and any other platform where your thought process is around the technology that it can provide as a solution to the clients, right? It's like you have this thought process about the most perfect business, and what you're trying to do is essentially put together the right combination of that perfect business when it comes to the product. Now, it doesn't mean just because you can build it doesn't mean you should, right? And I want to just kind of shed some light on that process. The second thing is a lot of people, they get overloaded with features with the assumption that adding more is going to really add value, meaning adding more features, right? The other mistakes that I see is not niching down or speaking the industry language, their love language, when you're presenting your SaaS, right? And that's going to be a hard challenge for many of you who live in that technology side of the world and analytical side of the world where, you don't really speak in the client industry, especially if you have multiple industries, okay? And the other one is not creating a feedback loop. There's no, quite often, a lot of the SaaS launches after month 1 and 2, they're like, well, our clients are here, but we don't know what they're doing. We're not having to interact because there's not a lot of account management that you're going back and forth reporting on Facebook ads, So because you don't have as many account management calls and things like that, it'll get quite difficult to understand where the clients are because you don't have data on where they're clicking and things like that when it comes to your high level SaaS, right? So what you have to do is put together some sort of system that allows you to get feedback from the client. So that's typically the fourth mistake that I see that's pretty common, okay? Now, step one in my thought process of what you should do is, let's say you have no clients, right? Guys that are watching and gals that are watching in the Facebook group, give me a comment. Give me like a one or two, so, if you can hear me and see my slides properly. I have like a 49-inch massive like widescreen, so when I actually share a stream with that, it shows up really tiny on the typical platform streaming. So that's why I'm asking just real quick. Okay, cool. So step one, if I'm in your place and I'm trying to launch a SaaS, especially with high level or not, it doesn't really matter. I still believe in the SaaS model, whether you use high level or not. But I recommend you use it to make life easier for yourself. But at the end of the day, the way I would approach my launch is I would probably go on my social media platforms, or some sort of messaging system that allows me to connect with people that know my journey, know my story of business, right? And that's probably my fastest way to figure out who can qualify for a beta. And then I'll share in there, hey guys, gals, like I'm thinking about starting a software company. I've been serving in this industry for this long, or I'm brand new to this industry and I'm thinking about starting a software company. I would love to invite you to be part of an advisory group where I just simply want to share with you and put together a group that provides feedback on how a software solution can help the industry of choice, whatever industry you have. Okay. And the reason why you want to do this is because, one, you don't go into launching by yourself with all your strategies all on your own. Okay. So that's one thing that you can avoid. You can have a group of people that's in this whole launch with you. Okay. And I understand they're not shareholders and co-owners and things like that, but at the end of the day, what you want to do is put together maybe 5 people, 5 industry people of choice, and have a game plan of putting them together in one place. Maybe it's a Zoom call of some kind, or you do an invitational event, or whatever it is. And what you want to do with this group of people is incentivize them for an exchange. I don't recommend this being free, okay? And the problem with free is that their intention is just different of why they would come in. They're not going to be as energetic. They're not going to be as driven to just simply help just for the fun of it, right? Everybody's time matter a lot to them. So what I would do is like, hey, listen, I'm putting together a software company. I'm looking to put together 5 great individuals that can be part of an advisory board of some kind. And what I want to do is understand the industry and see where their software usage is. And if everything goes well, what I want to do is build this thing out. And I'm not asking for any investments or anything like that. It's not about the money. I just simply just want to get feedback. And in exchange, I'm happy to either you could have a service that you want to exchange of some kind and provide some feedback, or you got to figure out what tool or exchange will make sense. But I don't recommend it being free just with some random strangers. If you have existing clients, this is a perfect way to launch them, because now you already have some sort of exchange that's already happening. Okay. Step 2. Sorry, there's a little error here. Let me change my spelling. Typically 2 is spelled with 1 digit. So step 2 is going to be gathering the data within like Zoom calls with really a group setting. That's one type of call. The other you want to do is the one-on-one sessions, because some of these individuals may not relate in their use case scenario within the industry. And also the other thing is, you may have sub niches within an industry if it's a very small or very big industry, right? So for example, real estate, you may have a realtor versus a mortgage loan officer that works with realtors, or maybe another category within real estate, and it's still okay for you to put together a group, even though they're not the exact sub niche, because they may serve a common customer, right? They may serve a common avatar. They may have the same type of problem. So when it comes to this beta, it's still very much useful for them to come in together. But have one-on-one sessions with them as well as a group setting, so they don't feel like it's just one person. They see that other people are involved, and also it doesn't allow one beta, trial to demand a bunch of things from you either. So speaking of which, you want to make sure the right expectation is set. But here's what happens. As you go through this beta, you'll get to figure out what kind of category of a product could you really build. The number one assumption that most marketing agencies make when it comes to SaaS is that they have to create a SaaS around leads or lead management. It's a fatal mistake in my mind, right? Because software companies exist well outside of just lead generation. Now, obviously, high level, you guys know the beginning stages of high level was around lead nurturing, right? But who do we serve? We served marketing agencies that were lead generators. We didn't go after the branding marketers, right? We didn't go after SEO clients. We didn't go after e-com agencies either. We focused on local lead gen agencies, and we cater towards that subsector. And as we grow, we're going to evolve into different subsectors, right? But in the beginning, you want to decide a type of category of product that's going to be best suited for you. Now, typically, it's such a crazy thought in my mind that in 2021 or 2022 for that matter now, that as an agency you can stop offering services. It sounds crazy, but you can run an agency without offering marketing services because of high levels white label or high level SaaS. Right? No other platform is going to allow you to take their tools, rebrand it for yourself, and let you keep all that revenue. 100% just to you. Your other option is to put together a round of funds, go put together a development team while collecting market data, and create features that you hope may or may not work with the market of use, right? So it's a crazy thought to me that you can build an agency today without offering marketing services. Now, outside of lead generation, what are the other products that you can build? You can build financial products. You can build staffing products. You can build scheduling products, operational products, data management products, audience management products, billing products, archives, right? You can just simply have contacts, and that's all they get. I've recently came across a freelancer who was just using the media library, right? And I'm like, I don't understand how he's doing that, but he's simply just collecting all the media stuff in one place. Okay? Newsletters is another one. Education product is actually, to me, education products is going to be really interesting for a lot of industries that are very complicated. For example, medical, right? Medical patient education is an area that is completely underserved, right? So as a physician or as a clinical brand, you can now create membership platforms and send sequences out that just simply educates the patient when the doctors are not actually seeing them in the clinic, right? So just from that alone, you can now create education product, right? Because the membership, and there's, I don't know, 200 or 300 features in here. You guys are all the smart ones, that you can put together your combos that make sense, right? So think of these things and figure out how to put this thing together, but do not fight this battle alone. Have a group of people that are sitting with you that gives you feedback, and you will be able to understand that, on average, we know that a small business spends about $600 to $800 a month on software. That's close to 10 grand a month. A year. right? And if that's the case, what are they using all those softwares for? Right? I promise you all those softwares are not for lead generation. Maybe one or two are, maybe their marketing guy has something set up, but at the end of the day, they're spending money already. That budget already exists, and it's already, slashed out from their normal daily activities, right? So regardless, I want you to think about all these different opportunities that you guys have. So let's talk about this. What would the best betas that you guys launch when it comes to sales, right? You want to put together your sales development with the beta before you go through and build out all these products, okay? So the use case scenarios that a software can solve, you could find out better from a beta versus you or just one other client, right? You may be able to get better data across multiple businesses. And also, here's the thing. Think outside of high level when it comes to software, right? And I'm saying this so without any selfish thoughts around it. Even if you don't use high level, I truly think you guys as agencies should offer software, right? Because initially what happens when you develop a skill, you start off with one-off projects, right? Because you're thinking, okay, you know what? I can knock this out. It's a one-time thing. I can charge maybe a high ticket for it and get out of the way, right? And then you get smarter and you understand how to do retainers, right? And the retainers essentially, Hadi says my screen is really small. Okay, I'll look at that when I get a chance. But usually agencies graduate from these one-off projects like websites into retainers where they provide like ad services. And then eventually the really smart ones go into subscriptions, right? And the way they do that is typically with coaching and some sort of education where they're creating high-ticket retainers almost, where you'll get a course for $5,000 to stay in the community. It's like a $500 fee every single month. The problem with that is it's very high churn. It's just like a service. It's not like a product. And plus, you have a lot of labor as the provider to make sure all these folks that are jumping into your education side is going to actually survive and find success, right? That's why that whole education model is not the same thing as a subscription model, okay? So with the best betas, you got to think outside of high level. Your industry may have specific needs. One of the things that I noticed about the automotive industry when I launched my third agency is that they had a big need for inventory management. They needed to know when parts were coming in. They needed to know which vendor had the best deals when it comes to supplying on, car parts and truck parts. And I'm thinking about myself, I'm like, I don't think I can use high level to put together an inventory management that easy. I might be able to find, I don't know, a 60% rinky-dink Band-Aid solution, but it's still not going to be something I can just stand on as a software provider. So I decided, you know what, we're not going to launch that type of a SaaS in that market of automotive, right? Eventually what I ended up doing was creating a SaaS around sales as a service because I knew they were too busy for them to be on the phone. So I decided, you know what, we're going to close the deals for them. So we were in the process of putting together a sales platform where we will just handle all their phone activities for them, right? So always think outside of high level when it comes to software, and then back it into high level if you would like, and figure out which feature combinations could provide that software solutions, right? Then set the right expectations with your beta. You want to let them know, hey guys, my intention is to find data from you on understanding how you use software systems, right? And then if we do end up building a product, you guys are going to be the first ones I'm going to, really share this opportunity with. And what I would do is build a percentage with you of some kind so you can turn them into partners, JVs, affiliates, whatever, however you feel comfortable in your business model, right? But that initial first beta is a really big deal. You know what most agencies do today when it comes to SaaS mode? They learn high level, they get comfortable, they finally build the confidence around the industry of some kind. They do their own little research, but they don't really talk to any business owners because everybody's afraid of sales calls. But what happens is they'll go build a product based on what they know or based on what they know of the services that they have ever provided, right? So, for example, like I knew Facebook ads. So, based on my Facebook ads knowledge in the industry, I started to build a product. But at the end of the day, that's not what the market wanted, right? And that's the mistake you want to avoid. Okay, so hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. I wanted to keep it brief and just share this idea of launching your sales development side and putting together a beta before you do anything else. It's a really big deal to understand the timing of it and then what you do about it and what you do with the data, right? So remember this, you can create a ton of products outside of lead generation as an agency. And you might even find categories that I don't even have here listed. These are some of the basic ones that I see quite often. Okay. If you guys want to unmute yourself, turn your cameras on. Let's do an open discussion, guys and gals as well. Tell me a little bit about your takeaways, and if you have any questions that I can help clarify. And those of you that are in the Facebook streaming, I'm looking at your comments. Miracle, I see you. Curtis, Jackson, Max, Becky, I see all of you that are in there. So yeah, put your questions down in the comment section, or if you found a lot of this valuable, put that down as well, if you don't mind. Okay, what are the questions that you guys may have?
So I've got a question regarding, inviting the people to the group. You mentioned something not to invite strangers. Can you repeat who are the ideal ones to invite to the beta?
Yeah, well, what I mean by is just don't invite just a random group of people, right? It's better to put together a group that can relate with each other. So, for example, you want to pick an industry and just put together a group of the same industry professionals together, right? So, like, I wouldn't want to do a real estate guy, then a physician, then a tire shop guy, and an author and somebody else, because what that would do is force you to customize a solution for every single one of them, and it just totally defeats the purpose of a true beta, right? You have too many independent variables in that scenario. So what I recommend is putting together similar people, not necessarily strangers. I don't recommend you doing this with friends or family who are not business owners either. So you got to be really careful of who is in your beta and what type of data they can provide. Now, if you want to be a little bit more advanced and creative, I would put together a beta around industry leaders that have an audience. Right? If they have an audience and if your product makes sense and if the sales development makes sense, guess what? When you actually launch, you can now enhance your launch with their audience as well, right? So you do want to go with possibly established people in the industry if you can. Now, how do you find them? You got to do manual organic reach. You got to reach out to them, talk to them, build relationships quickly, and let them know what you're trying to do. Or maybe if you already have that audience, then you can possibly share the story of you launching a software company and go from there. Does that help a bit?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, mate.
Okay. And where are you at right now with your SaaS launch, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just collecting information. I haven't. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Uh, Let me see. Let me look at the other questions. Anybody else that have questions, feel free to put that down in the comments, or turn your camera or your audio on and ask away. Let's see. Max is asking about a calendar issue. I have no idea. I'm not a tech guy. Of what I don't want to provide the wrong information over to you, Max. What I would do is probably search our help articles or search the topic within the Facebook group, and you'll see all the posts that ever was around that topic, and then you can probably find information there. Okay, but overall, guys, I just wanted to share this with you and give you guys this insight and clarity of when to do what. I'm doing the same thing now, but only based on one previous client. If you're new, Paulson, your words are gold. The more you know. Yeah, 100%. It's better to have that data before you go into the market, because what's worse is if you put together a magnificent product that you absolutely know will add value, and you go to the market and the market doesn't respond or the demand is not there, but you know your product is good based on what your knowledge is, your sales simply just won't work. No matter how much you put together on organic channels, how many paid ads you run, if the offer doesn't make sense, or if even if the offer makes sense and the product doesn't match the offer, these are all reasons of why a launch would fail, right? And just because you have revenue doesn't mean it's a successful launch. Okay? Your adoption rate is what's going to really give you the best indicator of success. It's not your revenue, right? Because your revenue today could be $97 on a plan that eventually will become a $500 plan for you, right? You may do your own 2.0 or 3.0 version of the launch that you have, right? So eventually your revenue will climb even with the same exact client, right? So it's not a great indicator of success. What I would find success is if they jump into the platform that you build and then they actually log in and use it all the time, right? If they adopt it, they really figure out, the best solutions for their business around it, and that's when you really have a win. Okay, but overall, I wanted to keep this short and sweet and answer any questions that you may have. And as we go throughout the day, if you have further thoughts or comments or questions, feel free to put that down on the comment section, and I'll take my time and answer that. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. By the way, we are about 4 days away from our second massive workshop we're about to do. About a year ago, we did one with Joel Kaplan. If many of you know him, he's a great guy. And we did our first workshop, which was called the 10K in 10 days. And thousands of people watched that and jumped in the Zoom calls and everything. We're about to do our second one. If you saw the roundup emails, you might be aware I'm getting ready to make a post today sometime, and we're going to do high ticket SaaS with Rob Bailey. Okay, Rob Bailey is a gentleman that put together and championed the idea of database reactivation, and he's got a ton of agency experience obviously as well. And I remember watching Rob really take off like around 2013-14 in the fitness space, and I was part of the Billie Jean coaching programs and things like that, where I met a lot of these guys. But overall, I'm really excited for that workshop we're about to do. Our first day is going to be this Friday, okay? Friday the 11th, 2 p.m. Rob and I are going to do a massive interview with him to just share his story. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week, we're going to go for several hours of just sharing with you of how to do high ticket SaaS, okay? So be on the lookout for it. I just wanted to let you know, in case if you missed any of the roundup emails, I believe we already have 700 or 800 people that signed up for the Zoom calls, just from the first day of our marketing team letting everybody know that this event is happening. So be on the lookout for it. I'm excited about it. Thursday we'll have our normal sales training session. Friday will be the day one of the Rob Bailey event, which is called, I believe, first flight to high ticket SaaS. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Let me know if you have any other questions. Okay, take care.
Thank you.